I know there's the crazies, but like it's something like 70% of people who've read all 14 books think the show is as good or better than the books.
No way! The crazies are out there too. This guy.
Well, welcome everybody, and I'm a little slow on my transitions. Steve, it's an oldie but a goodie, dude.
It never gets old, does it?
I just want to say thank you. Everybody here showed up very short notice, especially to Hollywood Scholar, who's with us tonight. He's a special guest. So what my plan is tonight is we're going to talk about fantasy adaptations a little bit, not in a general sense, but we're going to talk about where things went wrong, where things went right, and then we're going to look at some things that are very, very, very wrong with thanks to the Australian television rating system to particular episodes of Wheel of Time. So this isn't going to be like a 4-hour live stream. We're just going to hit it. But I just want to say hey to everybody. Thanks for being here. Purple Valkyrie is with us.
Hey.
Look at this. Give her some love. And then, of course, everybody knows Steve. Everybody say hey, Steve. So
hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve. Yeah.
I'm going to bring in chat real quick. Just want to say hey to everybody. Nerdscape is here. Purple Valkyrie obviously is here. And Al Dan is here. Dave Z Dude, the usual crowd of awesome, divisive book fans. Smile a while for me. Michael Dalt is here. Says anyone that thinks this show is good, let alone better than the books, should be sterilized and prohibited from voting and driving. To begin with,
support that.
to begin with, and Jed, we're going to jump to you as soon as I just run through some of this. I think you could say the same thing about Witcher season 3. In the rats, we were talking backstage about the rats and retconning a drape scene, same-sex drape scene, just because they're so progressive. Staple Bo is here. The Nerdforial Lifeform is into hizzy. Robert Moore is here as well. And of course, it is Restream, so everything's acting crazy. All right, I'm going to bring you guys in. So let's do this. Let's go around the horn real quick and start with you, Jed. Jed, what do you think is your favorite fantasy book adaptation that you've ever seen? Can be such a thing be done in brief? And then we'll go to Purple.
So it being done well from the fantasy book, that would have to be The Lord of the Rings. That would be one of my only examples that I've at least seen. Early seasons of Game of Thrones would fit into that category, but from beginning to end, The Lord of the Rings trilogy would be the one accurate and faithful adaptation that I think carried on what was important from the books.
Purple, what about you? And again, everybody give Purple Valkyrie some love. She's up way past her bedtime, and she isn't at an undisclosed location. We'll just say that. So go ahead, Purple.
I have to agree. Lord of the Rings set the benchmark, but there were some shows that at least had a decent first season. Shannara Chronicles, I think, was very good. They didn't have the budget, but they had the heart. I think American Gods had a great first season, and a few of the first seasons from Game of Thrones as well, up until about season 4, I think worked really well.
What do you think, Steve? It's Wheel of Time for you, isn't it?
The best? Oh, I mean, come on! Like it's the gold standard, isn't it? I mean, who are we joking? No, I mean, I think. I mean, of course, you got Lord of the Rings. Like, everybody's pretty much nailed them. There's not, and it's. I think the sad thing is you can probably count them on one hand. I mean, there's more probably out there that I didn't even know they tried to do that are horrible. Like, it was one of those when I started getting into Dresden Files. I looked, I'm like, how is this not a TV show? And lo and behold, it was, and it was a terrible TV show. And
Yes,
it just baffled me
was.
because if there's ever been a book series that is made for TV, it is the Dresden Files.
Yes.
I mean, you got 14 seasons of TV in 300 pages. It's the biggest no-brainer I've ever seen that they've never done. So yeah.
Let me get to this super chat from Taker610. Hail, dude, thank you very much. It's for $2. Says it's season 2 debut week. Hold on to your butts. Well, hold them shut. And I'm just gonna park that right there. I'm not gonna do ad hominem personal inappropriate attacks to anyone attached to any fantasy show on any streaming service. Just hold on to your butts. It's true. And don't worry, we're going to go through those episodes about the graphic nature of some of the scenes, because we all remember that from Robert Jordan's books, don't we? The graphic threesomes that occurred, especially in The Great Hunt.
Yeah.
Right?
All the blood everywhere. Yeah.
Jed, for you with The Witcher, because, dude, I watch your content. You and I watched The Last of Us season 1 until I said, I can't do this shit anymore. And it's like, I love Jed. I love my man, Jed. I just couldn't watch that show anymore. But, Jed, for you, with The Witcher, when did it go off the rails? Like, when did you go, wait a minute, and why was that?
Well, I wasn't very much into the sphere when the first season initially came out, so when I realized it went wrong was quite a bit later than when I believe it actually went wrong. I think it went wrong the moment Lauren Histridge, the showrunner, went out and said, I'm looking for writers who know nothing about the books. If you know something about the books, you're not qualified for this position. That was, at the end of the day, that was where everything went wrong. You can never have a good show or a good adaptation if you come at it from such an ignorant perspective. No one's asking for experts necessarily. No one's asking for you to be Tom Shippey to even be in the conversation to make a Lord of the Rings adaptation. But you need to at least know the source material, be familiar with it, and like it. That's a crazy thought, but have a positive association with the franchise. So that's where I think it personally went wrong in back research. But when I figured out it went wrong was when I was watching the first season and I was seeing the Yennefer storyline. That's what really made a change for me, because in the books, we know nothing about Yennefer's storyline besides Geralt looked at her once and kind of intuitively was like, oh yeah, she used to be a hunchback. And then they made 7 episodes of content about how she was a hunchback, her bad dad, her relationship with Istrid, and all that. And it was just like, what am I watching? And so it made quite an impact on me at that point. A good fight scene in episode 1 of season 1 is not enough to make a good fantasy show, but a lot of people believe that's what made a good fantasy show. So just took other people longer to realize it than me.
You know, the one thing that Witcher season 1 did was to get me into the books, because it was one of those series that I never got to. And my brother, who's been in Eastern Europe, he's read it in the original Polish because he lived there for a while. And now he's in Romania, which is probably one of the only bastions where women are still women and men are still men, and, you know, whatever. Anyway, that's not the show. The one thing that Netflix season 1, it got me to read the books. And then I was like, okay, I can see where they stole some scenes, you know, and then I proceeded to read all the books. Occasionally. Season 2 rolled up. I got in 2 or 3 episodes. I was pretty excited. And then I was like in denial. I was in denial for the first couple episodes because I really wanted it to be good. Because again, how can you screw this up? How could you have scenes that are written out in short scene format? You can do the crazy time jump stuff, but they're all there for you. But it is about Henry Cavill. It's about The Witcher. And you do have some political intrigue, and you do meet some fantastic people, and there are some crazy things involving the Sorcerer's Tower and all the other stuff that goes on, but it is The Witcher's story. You know, The Witcher 100%. Is not like Rand al'Thor is in Amazon's Wheel of Time non-adaptation. Purple Valkyrie, what is it? I think that I know you're a huge the Neil Gaiman show that you and I and Gray watched offline, and I'm having stream brain. When
SANDMAN, yes.
Yeah, when for you did you think the SANDMAN went off the rails? What did it do right, but what did it do wrong?
Honestly, from the first moment they announced the cast, I think we had a bad feeling about it. Ever since they listed off their pronouns in the casting, that was usually a bad sign. But we had hope because obviously Neil was attached to it, and you think having the author there, they would really want their work to be as faithfully adapted as possible. And Neil has always been what you would call woke before woke was a thing. But funny enough, I thought the exact same thing about Terry Pratchett's work. Now everybody knows that I'm a huge Discworld fan,
Yeah.
and when Terry was alive, we had some amazing adaptations of his work. Were they perfect? No, but the respect for the source material was there. And then we got the TV series The Watch, which was abysmal and was absolutely torn apart by the fans, and rightly so.
I love Terry Pratchett. Now, Purple Valkyrie is a huge Terry Pratchett person. She would send me pictures. She would go to the, what do they call it? The Discworld festival or
Yep.
con they have in the UK. Obviously, Pratchett is British. And there are other people on YouTube that leave comments that are huge Terry Pratchett fans. Again, this is something where everything that Pratchett wrote lends itself to be done on the screen. Some scenes are more fantastical than others, but I love the Hogfather. I think the Hogfather is one of the coolest things, and I think they pretty much got that right. And I think Purple, you said going postal was really good, but then, when we start looking at Neil Gaiman with the Sandman, when I was watching it with Gray, and there's video that I'm not going to air, we were in stunned disbelief. Now, everybody here knows Wakazashi's Tea House, great, right? Like, good dude. He just kept hoping the next episode was going to get better until about, I think it was episode 4 or 5. He's just like, he's like, why do you reckon they did this, Salty? Like, it's like that you start to accept that they went out of their way to not make anything that was right there in front of them that would have been perfect to make.
And it was sad to see. Yeah, you saw the light dying in his eyes. It was terrible.
Yeah. Prophet of the Dragon, what for you was something you really looked forward to? And I may know the answer to this. And when did you think it went off the rails? I've known this man a long time. We've talked a lot. It's been 3 years. We met because of this shit show called Wheel of Time. I didn't know who this guy was. And then we just started talking. We started working together. And that's how I know Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, sorry, Easton's in full school fallout over left of me, trying to get used to the schedule. Well, I could like surprise. No, it's Wheel of Time. Come on, right? I mean, like this. When did it go off the rails? I don't remember. All I know is that that first episode, when I didn't see anything that looked like my book, and it didn't do anything better. It was heart crushing, and you mentioned Gray. Gray, man. I wish sometimes I could be the optimist that he is with stuff. It takes a lot for him to turn on something. Yeah. That's why when he does, there's something wrong with it, right? So I sometimes I wish I had that optimism inside me, but you hang on. Like, there's this one, especially when someone you love, to hang on, right? It's like, I got to give it one more. I'm going to give it one more. This one could be a big one, and then they skip your favorite thing, or they skip the thing that glues the show together, and then I think probably, I think for most of us, we all knew it was over season 4 or episode 4 of that show. They were hitting plot points sort of in their own fashion, and then they completely just went off the rails on episode 4, right? So that, whereas there were lots of hints that it was screwed from the first second, right?
Yeah. Jed, with season 1, you talked about how it really was the Yennefer show with, they did a pretty good job of camouflaging that it was, The Witcher was in some stuff. And then season 2, it just became like denutted, neutered on lithium, Witcher, Henry Cavill. But for you, do you think when you have a male protagonist and how much do you think they changed The Witcher from what you think? Now, reading a book is very subjective. I read the Witcher books as well. And Purple, I don't know if you've read those yet or not.
I read the first one. I do need to continue with them, but I enjoyed it. I really did.
So this question will be to both of you then. What is it about the show that you think the show missed and about The Witcher himself? And maybe, did it start season 1 or did it start season 2? And then Steve, we're going to go to you to talk about your man Round Althor and what is it that you think they missed? I mean, I have a long laundry
We
list, but
both do, don't we?
I'm just going to be Vanna White tonight. You know what I mean? I'm gonna sit there and turn the wheels and look fabulous in my red slinky dress. So, Jed, go ahead with you. And what is it that you think they missed about The Witcher as a character? And then just however you want to answer that question.
I think there's a lot of aspects to it. The only thing that ever is even remotely like Geralt from the book is in Henry Cavill's performance, because he cares the way he proceeds to deliver his lines. But I think probably the biggest problem that I had with their portrayal of Geralt is they lost the nuance of the character in the books. Geralt in the books is very thoughtful. He's a very complicated character. The way he addresses things, like in the books, he knew what he was doing when he asked for the child surprise Ciri. He had already figured out that Pavetta was pregnant and that nobody else knew that she was pregnant. So he specifically chose to have a child surprise. In the show, they made it seem like an accident, and he was just some bumbling idiot who's like, "Oh, we just heard the story about child surprise. I'm gonna do it, and I'm surprised I got a child surprise." It's so ridiculous, but that's a very nuanced moral perspective, because the man who said evil is evil, greater, lessing, middling, it's all the same, one of his most famous quotes, is the same individual who purposely tricks a couple into giving him their child. It's a necessary thing for the reproduction of Witchers to have children of destiny. It's not necessarily required. I think that's too strong of a word, but it's a more likely chance for them to survive the trial of the grasses. The Witchers believed if you were in the shadow of destiny, you had a better fate chance to survive the trial of grasses if destiny was working in your favor. But I'd say the nuance. Every decision Geralt made, he was thoughtful about it. He made decisions that seemed surprising. He had a little bit of gray morality, but not in a modern day George R. R. Martin type way where everyone's just shit and shitty people make shitty choices. But he had to make some tough decisions sometimes. And I would say, the nuance and the thoughtfulness of Geralt is completely gone in the TV show. He's just he's not an active character. He's not an active
he's
character.
more meat. He's more of like, okay, when does he get naked with Yennefer? Now, that does not take away from Henry Cavill, because I think Henry Cavill was The Witcher. And there were moments in that show. Like I said, I am incredibly biased because watching season 1 of The Witcher is what brought me to the books. When I read those books, I imagined Henry Cavill's mannerisms in them. Okay, for better or for worse. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I feel lucky that I got to go into that world. It was another one of those fantasy series that I walked by for years and didn't pick up. And, I just got into the Elric saga after having it for how long? And I'm just like, all right, I'll read it tomorrow. I'll read it next week. I'll read it next year. I'm reading those books now, blowing my mind. Again, something that could be absolutely amazing as a fantasy TV series. Not now. I'd rather have people with sock puppets do it and have like a white sock for the albino Elric, you know what I mean? And like in a diverse other color socks, because I simply can't watch them do this to another thing. Purple Valkyrie, for you, if not The Witcher, then another. Thanks a lot, Steve. Think for the Witcher or any other fantasy series, where do you think it went off the rails? Just in general.
It is hard to say. I mean, at least with The Witcher, we had a perfect cast. You correctly said you couldn't have had a better lead than Henry Cavill because he knew the source material and he had a love for it. But for me, it was actually the game. So when I played the game, that was the character that I thought of. It wasn't until I saw the CD series that I thought, okay, this could work. And probably with better writers and somebody who actually cared about the books and telling Geralt's story, I think we could have had just something incredible. It is bizarre.
And I want to call out chat. We've got a whole bunch of amazing people here with us. We've got Emblazon64, Michael Dwalt, Jordan Notter, ZZZ is up in the hizzy. Frank Blazkowicz is here. And if I said your name wrong, it's because I don't have Nerdporial here to give me the Polish Chicago pronunciation. I Am Vendel is with us. If I missed you, just go, hey, Salty, say my name. I want to hear my name read. Adega Outlaw is here. Adega is an author. just like Jed, just like Hollywood Scholar. These guys, when they talk, it's not just some nerd sitting around there and pulling shit out of his, elementary orifice. When you write things, when you create things, you start to look at this and there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. These things they are structured a certain way. It is a cookbook. And the reason why bread turns out well and looks like bread and tastes like bread and not like cat shit is because you follow a recipe. You can move things around. The skill and the talent is how to work within the structure of stories and storytelling around the hero's journey to create something that's new and exciting. Star Wars with George Lucas, it's basically a Western in space. Battlestar Galactica was Wagon Train, a TV show from the 50s in space. What did they do? They took the formula behind it. They added new elements and new interesting characters and intrigues and conflict that drove a story. And I think what we're missing now is any understanding of what the hell I just said. I just wanted to call out a Daga. Purple Valkyrie, for you in all of this, what is it that you're missing? What is it that you think we're missing? And Steve, you too, what is it we're missing from these fantasy adaptations? I'll let Steve go first because I know Steve's got a little bit of time. So
what are we missing from any of these? Well,
Yeah.
talent. I mean, the understanding of what characters and hero's journey is. And I think Jed said it before, any love for the source material that made these series what they are. If you haven't read the books, if you don't enjoy the books, how are you supposed to translate that to a visual form so we can enjoy supposedly what we've read, right? I mean, that's what an adaptation is supposed to be, a visual representation of what we've read. It's your job to take what's in those books and alter it to a place where it can get onto the screen, where we can go, oh, hey, that's exactly how I visualize that scene in the books, not throwing your own crap. So a lot of the love is gone. They don't know what they're doing. They don't love the material, I think, is a big thing.
Purple, I want to get your response. Lyle's been waiting very patiently. This is a $20 super chat from the man, the myth, the legend, Lyle Amick. Thank you. Oh, I'm shocked. This is about the Rings of Power. He says, what's up, everybody? How's it going, Salty? Why did you bring this guy Jed on, especially with his unjustified and wrong takes on the Rings of Power? I think Jed and I probably agreed.
No shame in my game.
No, I got no shame on that one, dude. I saw that one coming a mile away. We're always going to disagree on that, and that's fine. He says, I kid, but good to see you all. And hail, here's to a great stream as we mourn our lost franchises. It's true. That's part of what drove me into reading. First of all, Lyle, thank you. You have been a very long time supporter of not just my channel, but everybody here, even if you give Jed a brass of shit. I just want to say thank you. We don't agree on the Rings of Power. I know we agree on Wheel of Time, but just thanks to everybody who's here. And if I haven't called out your name, I'm having mic stand issues. Just hit me in chat. So Kayla Deer says, Elric is awesome, dude, right? I know it's totally awesome. But Purple, what about you in all of this? And again, you can pick at this point because we're kind of all over the place. Whatever you want to address with this, what is it that's missing from these adaptations?
I think it's the willingness for it to be a fantasy. Nowadays, the shows are too willing, or they want to be grounded in reality. They want to bring modern day sensibilities into these shows where they don't belong. And I think the other part of it, the best adaptations we've had, if you think of, obviously, Lord of the Rings, we didn't have Tolkien, but we had Christopher Tolkien. It's somebody with their hand on the rein saying, this is how it's going to be done. You're going to either respect the material or don't do it. The same with Rowling for Harry Potter.
I agree with that. ZZZ says, when you hear the phrase for a modern audience and representation, you know it will not be true to the books and will be a woke message trap. It's true. At this point, I don't trust anything. I don't trust any marketing for anything. Doesn't matter if it's DC. Can you believe there are people going, where did all the DC fans go? I saw that was in a Hollywood Reporter. Gee, where did all those people who gave us all the money to watch all the other movies, where did they go? Yeah, it's a real mystery. What a lot of these studios don't understand is it's not just their product and their vertical of whatever it is, whether it's Superman, Batman, The Flash, whatever it is. When every franchise in the MCU, in DC, is the same effing agenda and message in Girl Boss, in Trash, in a multiverse, no one cares? I don't think they're done doing that stuff yet, and that is a great tragedy. I'm just going to say, let me get to this comment from Robert Moore. It says, Salty, unfortunately, that would never happen in Amazon Wheel of Time. I cannot hear any of them. I watched The Green Mile first, and then I read it, and Tom Hanks. All right, I missed something there. Yeah, the thing about Wheel of Time, and we're going to get into that, is if I blew that, just put it back in chat, dude. Nick McCabe is in here too. Sorry, chat just jumped on me. Here we go. Chris Saunders, RESPECT. Find out what it means to me. Respect for the fans. Now it's like you have to watch because I'm smarter than you. And I have to re-educate you because you're all white supremacists. You all have white privilege. You all just whatever bullshit du jour thing they want to call us. We're all racist. We're all sexist. We're afraid of strong. I think a lot of us were sick of this shit by the time we walked out of The Last Jedi, and Hollywood hasn't figured that out yet. And they're still grinding their wheels on this stuff. Jed, for you, what is it that's coming? Let's talk about Doctor Who just real quick, and then we'll go from there. They said they were going to delay the season. We know about the casting. We know that they're going to be doing the Hollywood specials. What is it that you think you were in briefly, and then we're going to let Prophet carry the show until he has to split on us. What is it that you think we're going to see out of Tenet in those few holiday specials they have?
Well, for the holiday special specifically, and the 60th anniversary specials coming up in November, I think Tenet's just going to get back to form. I do believe that he's going to be doing a very similar Doctor from what we know and love, and I think it's a bait and switch. I think that a lot of a lot of New Who fans will come back a little bit. Not everyone, obviously, but a good portion of them will come back and be like, Tenet's back. And then the bait and switch with Ncuti Gatwa is going to happen, and it's just going to be worse than ever. And I don't. And when I say a lot of people are coming back, I'm going to say like half of the viewership numbers from even the Capaldi era. So still horrendously terrible viewership, but there will be a major spike compared to Power of the Doctor, which was one of the lowest watched episodes in Doctor Who history in 60 years. So it'd be slightly better than that. But the Tenet stuff, I can't super predict. I like the idea of Neil Patrick Harris playing a villain, but I do need to make a clarification. That article about Doctor Who Series 14 getting delayed is not necessarily an accurate one. It's from an article that was talking about the stuff coming this fall, and the Giant Freaking Robot and a lot of other people took things out of context. So as of right now, the official story is Series 14 is still coming in April, which is very disappointing because I wish Doctor Who had been canceled a long time ago, but I have no excitement for it. Even when Russell T Davies was announced, I had like a half second of excitement. Yeah. Oh, those are great. I'm
just a hater. I'm just a hater.
Yeah,
I'm just a hater. I'm afraid of strong women. You know, I mean, this is just what was here. Steve, let's go to you. I know you got to bounce real quick. I'm going to show guys. We're just going to do this because I think it's really important that I show this to Steve. And bear with me 1 second. But Steve. Yeah, I know. Hold on a second here.
Oh, you're good.
Hold on. I don't even know what I'm sharing. Is that right?
Oh God.
All right.
Geez.
Now let's explain the context for this. First of all, shout out to Alex from the White Cloaks. We're jumping in the Wheel of Time before Steve has to go to work. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Steve. This is from the Australian television streaming rating services. They have to list out all of this minutia. Is that right?
That's correct. And it's my understanding that this has all been pulled down. So
we got the hard copies of this thanks to the White Cloaks. So what this does is every episode, it tells you what might be offensive, which might be offensive to a modern audience. So let's just go into this. Steve, I'll let you react to this. So this is A Taste of Solitude. You may be only seeing this here, or maybe the White Cloaks, if they covered it. I was gone for the weekend. This is episode 1, season 2. Bloody Detail features a fight scene in which characters stab each other using swords. Steve, what do you think that's about?
Well, I have no idea because we have a 5-month time jump. So maybe it's a flashback. I don't know. Like
now we also have dead bodies are shown. This is legit, guys. This is not me making something up. This is your episode 1, season 2 Overview. Dead bodies are shown with blood on them. In the aftermath of violence, a woman appears shocked to find 3 lovers laughing in bed together. There is also moderate fantastical threat when a woman uses magical powers to push another woman against a wall. So, Steve, I'm going to say there is a pillow friend threesome in the
right?
White.
Well,
What do you
because
think this is, Steve? Oh
well,
my
because that
God.
has to be what it is, right? So it's either going to be like. So I sort of thought it might be Alana and like her warders, and like
Yeah.
Nynaeve's gonna walk in there or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's who cares? Like, why is it there? That's the and we know the pushing against the wall thing is going to be Leandrin and Nynaeve in that clip they've already shown, but like. Yeah, because that's we need threesomes in Wheel of Time. That's what's missing, and I don't even like they've done such a great job of confusing everybody what's going on and just being not even close to the source. I don't even know what fight they're talking about. We're gonna stab. Maybe that's metaphorical swords. Maybe it's the warders have their swords out. I don't know. Like it's crazy, man.
Yeah, this is the crazy thing for you, Jed. Real quick, and I'm going to move on to episode 2. Was there some things that you saw in Witcher season 3 that were a huge step down? Just say in the first episode, where did you see them trying to push agenda items that weren't even there in season 2, or was it just shit-tastic all the way through 2 into 3?
In episode 1 of season 3, in the beginning of season 3, I wouldn't say it was particularly political as much as it was just objectively bad. Like, for those of you who don't know, in episode 1 of season 3, the 3 of them eat macaroni and cheese. I'm not making that up. It is macaroni and cheese, modern day craft macaroni and cheese at a dinner table. That shows you where's the $1 billion that's supposedly in this franchise gone. But political, I mean, series suddenly a 20 times better badass in episode 1. Everyone's an idiot, but not to this type of degree that you're talking about here. It was just bad.
Gets worse.
Squeaka, let me get to this super chat. This is season 2. You all, please be sure to read this. You're not going to be able to find it unless you screen cap this. And again, big thank you again to Alex of the White Cloaks. Squeaka, Squeaky Mouse. Much love to my favorite D&D party member with her chainmail bikinis who I helped rescue. I miss those. We should play D&D again. Squeaka, $10 super chat says, haters unite.
Hell yeah.
Cheers to you. Cheers to you. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Steve, here we go. Episode 2, and whatever you got to go, you just tell me this is episode 2. This is the season. Episode 2 is called Strangers and Friends. Again, this is season 2. Wheel of Time confirmed. This is during a prolonged battle sequence. Soldiers clash swords and trade slashes and blows, resulting in large spurts of blood. Again, I am not a Robert Jordan scholar, but I don't remember that being this way in The Great Hunt.
I
don't.
trying to figure, yeah.
Let me read this one. A man has a vision in which a family is threatened by armed enemies invading their home. And in another scene, villagers are dragged from their homes and taken hostage by soldiers. Moderate sex references include brief remarks regarding virginity and role play. In the aftermath of violence, blood spatter and small injuries are seen on the faces and bodies of those involved in fights. There is mild bad language, shite, bloody, and bastard. Do we think this is where we get Rand, who's losing his shit way too early, having sex with his aunt, his step aunt? Like this is Red too.
I don't think we're quite there yet. That's the sad part, because we know that's all going to happen, right? So I think this is because it's the next one. That's episode 3 is Daughter of the Night. So I think that's when Lanfear hatches out of the egg. She hatches out of the egg from the scene we just saw, right? So I think this is going to be like, I think this is this might be freaking Perrin like doing a Wolf Dream thing, because we have that scene with his like, or there's something else. I don't know if this one's, I don't know, but like we have two episodes and 2 fights. like with blood splattering everywhere. Like I'm trying
Grimdark.
like
It's
is it,
grimdark. It's what Sanderson warned about in season 1, and he did it in November, and it was listed in Forbes. And he says, I don't think this show should go to grim dark light. And I don't think a lot of us understood what he meant, because again, I think they reshot most of season 1 based upon the 10,000 most notes that Rafe Judkins was given. It would seem that whatever craptastic plot that Rafe Judkins created for season 2 is now in full effect. They're just letting him do what he wants. So we're seeing what Rafe Judkins considers to be his genius vision of fixing Robert Jordan. So, Purple Valkyrie, when you start seeing things like this, when you start listening to us, we're mansplaining here, obviously, okay?
Oh,
but
obviously, yes.
You just got the books. And Steve, let's do this. Steve's got a roll. Prophet of the Dragon, thank you for jumping on here on short notice. Thank you so much for being here. Steve, everybody knows who the hell you are. Prophet of the Dragon, if you're not subscribed, please give him a sub. Anything you want to say before you got to bounce?
Well, I'm excited Purple got the books. I'd love to hear her take on it when she's hopefully she shares. Man, oh man! First, well, real quick, just I don't want to get on a soapbox because I got to leave. But thank you to 50 in the chat. Thank you. Yeah. It's awesome to see you guys all coming out. Whether it's my channel, Salty's channel, White Cloaks, we're seeing a lot of you guys everywhere just fighting against this BS that we're all dealing with, and we all got to support each other, right? So, thank you all for being here, Salty. Thank you for letting me come on. I'm glad I was able to get on here before I had to go to work. Those synopsises get worse. I've seen them all.
I got them all.
It gets worse.
I got them all.
Like I wish I could say for I really wish I could say for all of them. I really do, because they get worse. Like they systematically get worse. It's just like I've been saying in all my videos. Everything, like we can start these sneak peeks that are coming out. The little bit that we're starting to piece together things, and everything they release makes it worse.
Yes, just like the Rings of Power. Like Rings of Power. There's a reason why they held it back for so long.
And they keep saying, just like, I think it was Jed. I don't know if it was live or before. Jed said it, and I agreed with him. They will say a line and go, "See, we are following the books."
But that's not what they did when they released today.
No, but right, yeah. So they'll say, "See, he said the line. Ishmael just said blood calls blood," and then anybody that's read it goes, "Wait a second."
We were texting each other all day, going, "That's not what that means. What's the context to this?"
Ishmael doesn't even know what the hell. He doesn't even say what are you talking about? So they keep saying they'll say, "See, we read the books. We said the thing," but the thing has nothing to do with anything that it's supposed to. So that's what they're doing now. They will pick and choose, and it's like Salty said a million times. They got a bunch of Post-it notes on the wall, and they go, "Oh shoot, we haven't got that in there yet. We got to force that in there somewhere." So that's what they're doing. So I'm sorry I went on a little bit of a rant there. Getting out of here.
That's okay. I just don't want to make you late for work. I love doing this.
I'll get there. So, guys, 50 in chat, thank you for being here. I'm seeing a bunch of people that have been over my chat. I'm glad you guys have come over here, and hopefully you're subscribed to Salty. Subscribe to Jed, man. He's fighting the fight against this Witcher crap, man. And of course, Purple, right? But Unhype Wednesday. This is the week. We got to cover this stuff as many times as possible, because this show needs to be called out every time they. I've seen a few. They're sharing. There's a lot more dissent that's being blocked. Like Salty has also said. There's a lot more videos out there if you go looking at people calling the show out. They're just not being signal boosted. So. Let's support anybody that is saying that. TechMex is out there too. I know him, and White Cloaks. Thank you very much, Salty, for letting me say my piece. I hope we see you guys for the Unhype and beyond. It is season 2 week. Holy crap. And thank you, Salty. I love you too, buddy.
No, that wasn't for you. That was for season 2. First of all, that was not flirting. Let's be really clear about that. The second thing is that that was me going, "Yay, it's friendly here."
We all know you're looking forward to the threesome in the White Tower. I mean, actually, we all probably would if they didn't look like have square faces.
If they had any balls, it would be Matt and two accepted or novices. If they did the books right, but they're not going to do that.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Salty Purple. Jed, good to see you.
Take care, Steve.
We'll see you soon. I'll be at work. watching the rest of this. Bye, guys.
Alina Duncan says, so did, there we go. So they did only one trailer for this season. Well, Wheel of Time Wednesday starts tomorrow. It's the last one. Jed, in all of this, in Purple too, what is it that you think, I mean, because you guys have, Purple's watched a lot of these videos that I've done,
Yes.
Steve's done, Jed, I don't know if you've watched my stuff. I've watched your stuff. But when you've heard other people talk about Wheel of Time that maybe I don't make content with, or Steve doesn't make content, what have you heard anecdotally? Same thing with you, Purple. Like, you guys just talk about that a second, and I'm going to try and catch up on chat.
Well, from what I've heard of this Wheel of Time adaptation at Amazon, is it's just as bad of an adaptation as all the other ones that I care about. So I really feel bad and relate to the Wheel of Time fans, because they're destroying everything that it seems like was important. Now, Robert Jordan, from what I understand, isn't like as diehard of a Catholic as Tolkien was, but he had very traditional values and wasn't that graphic. And so from my limited understanding, just the idea of violence to that degree and sex to that degree seems antithetical to the source material. So it's a very, very periphery knowledge. I'm very interested in it. It's just a massive book series that I got to find time for. So I plan on doing it at some point, but yeah, this, from what I've heard, some people who've seen like The Witcher and care about The Witcher as much as I do say the Wheel of Time adaptation is a worse desecration than Witcher's ever been, including season 3 and Rings of Power. It's just a big debate to see who's got the worst deal when it comes to these fantasy franchises.
Let me get to the super chat, and then Purple, the floor is yours, and we'll stop mansplaining and you know, generally being toxic. This is from Lyle Hammock for $10. Thank you. Says, I hate what Rafe has done. What happened to humility? Humility requires a concept called shame. Shame is predicated upon there is good and there is bad. You are ashamed for something that you did wrong, that you knowingly did, that was wrong, which would be negligence. Incompetence means you didn't know any better and you may have caused harm, and you would still feel shame for that because you should have known better. The onus is on you. When you're the showrunner, when you're the leader, when you're an executive within a corporation, whether it's an entertainment corporation or a finance one or construction or healthcare, the decisions that you make that lead people off a cliff in your business to fail, in your products to be rejected, or you do harm, it's on you. And that's where the concept of humility and shame comes from. Humility is essential in a person who's a good leader. When you don't have humility, you're a manager. Manager, that's who bullies people in retail stores, you know, but like yells at people. A leader doesn't need to tell you they're in charge, because you know they're in charge, because they act like it. They've earned the right to be there. Meritocracy. I guess that's white privilege now. So now we have lots of different looking people who like to put different junk in themselves or put their junk in different things. And because of that, because of the sexuality, because of all of these other completely irrelevant things that have nothing to do with the quality of their work, whether it's a movie, a television show, a financial service, a building that's built, well, it was diverse and we've got representation, and that's more important than you being alive or you not being bankrupt or this business still being there or the audience being happy. Because what did we see with Amazon when they started to get feedback that said they really wanted heterosexual heroes, and they didn't want all the gay, and they didn't really care what people looked like, and they didn't want a message, they just wanted good stories? Amazon stopped taking that feedback into consideration when making their shows, especially with Peripheral, The Rings of Power, Wheel of Time. It's all here. It's all why this is happening. You're getting your $10 worth, Lyle. One more second. So I hate to see what Rafe has done with humility. What happened to humility? These people think they are so much better than those who created these timeless works. Well, yeah, it's little dick energy. You know, it's just little dick energy. Like, you know, all right, I'm going to finish reading this super chat. Yet they are so empty, has the pathetic drivel they create. Purple, I'm going to let you have this, and I'm going to let you comment on this. You've heard me rant a lot about Wheel of Time, and you've watched Jed talk about The Witcher. You are a huge fantasy reader,
Absolutely.
You teach me things all the time. This woman has some amazing knowledge about 80s, 90s, 2000s science fiction and fantasy. Okay, she woman-splains to me all the time. So it's an equal opportunity splaining over here. But go ahead, Purple. It's all you.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that. It is about humility, but it is about having the respect for what came before. And you've talked about it, especially with Robert Jordan, the whole idea that they think that they can do something better than what the actual author wrote. And we've heard that a lot. What I would throw back to you guys is, do you think that we would be having these conversations had these shows been made 10, 15 years ago? Do you think these shows are a product of their time? Or do you think that this was always inevitable, that we were going to get these bad adaptations, that some fantasy just cannot be made into a TV show or a movie? Because I don't think that that's the case. I think if you have the care, if you have the cast, if you have the people who have the know-how and knowledge of what they're talking about, pretty much anything can be adapted in inverted commas.
I'm going to let you go, Jed. I'm going to read this. Robert Moore says, what happened to the animated shorts of the Wheel of Time? I don't know. You see him, let me know. Go ahead, Jed.
Well, just to add on to that super chat, and it kind of ties into what a lot of what's been said on the show thus far, something that I say a lot. Just because these studios have the rights to do something doesn't mean they have the right to do it. Just because you have the legal right to do something does not mean you have the moral right to do it. Because as much as they say, hey, we own this franchise, we can do whatever we want. The fans have a right to it. They have a right to care, a right to control to a certain degree, and have a say in how it's made. But it doesn't come across legally. So that's why I make the distinction. Just because they have the rights to do something doesn't mean they have the right to do it, because it's morally reprehensible, a lot of the things they've done to desecrate Tolkien, Sapkowski, and Jordan. It's insane, honestly, the pride.
Delusion.
Mhm.
Manic delusion. And, yeah, I'm not going to psychoanalyze any of these showrunners. Lauren Histrich, when you look at what that person has said and you
Mhm.
line it right up next to Rafe Judkins, and then you line that up to what Neil Gaiman said about his own show, it's really one of those things where you just have to read what those people have said.
Mhm.
And then you in the audience and you in the chat, you don't need us to sit here and tell you how it's wrong. You know it's wrong. Everybody knows that's insane. I think all of us say this. If we had the opportunity to do this, if we didn't have the skills, the talent, the experience, our number one job would be to ensure that it was as close to the source material as it was, and we would bring people in who loved the source material to make it as faithful as it was. Amanda asks, is Carhean the name of an asylum? No, Carhean or Carhean. I don't know. I'm not going to do the weird pronunciation. That's how I pronounce it. Carhean is a town where they shouldn't be, which Rand is apparently in an asylum with his imaginary friend Errol, who is probably Luce Theron, because that's how basic bitch the show is the asylum in the city. Yeah, the asylum is probably in the outskirts of Carhean, where, of course, not Rand al'Thor is banging, not Celine, who is not 24, 25, beautiful, voluptuous young woman. She's, maybe a little bit just starting to be a high mileage, MILF. So that's my take on it. Purple, what about you? What do you think in all of, it was back to me. The question was for me about what's going on.
Yeah, it was about, do we think
it
had been
Yeah. Do I think so? Here's the thing. I think there are plenty of people who love things as much as Peter Jackson did. I think there are plenty of people who love things in a lot of ways. Rafe Judkins was the wrong person to hire to do an adaptation of Wheel of Time. I don't think I'm alone in that assessment, but he was absolutely the right person for Jennifer Sulky to hire. And Disbrew did a great video on this a couple of weeks back talking about Jennifer Sulky. We can sit here and blame Rafe Judkins, and we rightfully should, because he's holding the leash on this Frankenstein's monster of not Wheel of Time, just like Lauren Histrich. She's holding the leash as to what happened in Netflix and, with The Witcher. Now, does it matter with something like Netflix just because of the large subscriber base they have and that the other content makes up for it? I don't know. This is one of those things that I think you'll start to see the effects of this maybe next year or the year after. But after burning all the money that they did with what is it, Blood Origin, and then people not watching season 2, and then really not watching season 3, it'll be interesting to do a comparison side by side of the fall off from the premiere of season 2 through the rest of the episodes. I did a video where we looked at season 1, the premiere, and just like with season 2, they dropped 3 episodes all at once. It was the #1 streaming show that week. What was it up against? Tiger King, that had been out for 4 months. Nothing else was coming out that week. It wasn't going head to head with anything else. Now, when other things did come out, and I'm talking about Hawkeye on Disney Plus, okay, it blew its ass out of the water. Okay, when you go from the premiere with episodes 1 through 3 being dropped all the way through episode 7, you were looking at a close to 50% loss of viewers. And then, of course, Witcher season 2 came out and blew its ass out of the water. It wasn't even close. Witcher season 2, when it premiered, had over twice as many views as this winning #1 show that Amazon did at its peak when it released the first 3 episodes in the first week. It's just a reality. And as shows came out, you watched Hawkeye beating season 1 of Wheel of Time on Amazon by 30% every week. You know, it's kind of crazy. I don't know what to expect when this show drops, but I think people will probably hate watch this a little bit, but I got to tell you, and I'm just a small YouTuber, okay, but a lot of the comments that I've seen in my 1,000 view plus videos have indicated that people are not even going to hate watch this. They're going to watch probably me or Steve or the White Cloaks or other people to find out what's going on. But I think people have been so wounded not just by what Amazon did with Wheel of Time, but we are getting a knife stuck in our guts every time we turn around. Doctor Who, Star Trek. I don't know what the hell people were talking about with Picard season 3, and I don't care who that offends. It was dog shit to me. You can like it. And I wanted something where we got the band back together from TNG. That show failed in that. To me. Okay, it really did. But if you like it, that's okay. But The Witcher, Doctor Who, all of these things, at what point, and I'm going to go to your Purple, then Jed, are you at a place where you have lost complete faith in any studio, regardless of the product at all, or are there things that you're holding out hope for? Purple, let's go to you.
Honestly, I think I am at a point where I just do not care about entertainment, at least modern entertainment. There's plenty of entertainment from the past that we can go back and watch and happily do so. But I can't think of anything coming that I'm excited about. You know, we've got adaptations coming. I know we've got video game adaptations that may or may
God
not.
of War.
God of War, exactly.
We were talking about that today. Rafe Judkins.
Rafe Judkins.
Again, God of War.
Yeah. But you've talked about it in the past. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. And when your audience just does not care anymore, they're not going to hate watch, because people's time is precious. And when you can go to YouTube for entertainment and hear what people are saying, especially the hardcore fans like you guys who have read the books, who have suffered through the first season, who know what they're talking about, why would you do it to yourself?
Go ahead, Jed. I want to hear your take on this. I mean, my God, dude, we saw The Last of Us, and I still don't get what it was that people liked about The Last of Us. And you're allowed to like it, guys. I'm not going to call you names. If you like to watch it, that's fine. It's just that it's not what I wanted. And maybe it's because I make these videos that my brain is kind of hypersensitive to this stuff. But I just saw the same trash agenda, retconning, just all this weird woke stuff in there, but they did it a little bit better. That's all that I saw. It was there until they didn't. And then you had that crazy ass scene. I think it was episode 5. Go ahead, Joe.
So yeah, I believe that the era of hate watching is coming to an end, because no longer will Star Wars movies make $1 billion. I think Rise of Skywalker got to $1 billion mainly because of all the hate watching, and the same with The Witcher season 2. But at a certain point, just like you said, every single franchise that we come across is getting summarily destroyed and bent over in front of us, that apathy, exactly like Purple said, is setting in with everybody. I have no genuine excitement for pretty much any franchise. I've been happily surprised a few times. Like I enjoyed the Mario movie more than I thought. I thought I wouldn't enjoy it at all. I enjoyed it a little bit at least. So I've been happily surprised a few times, but I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
zero excitement for anything because I can't trust any of these major studios. The only thing that I look forward to are foreign studios, some
Mhm.
Korean films. I'm starting to get into a little bit more, and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing. But there's not anyone that's 100% reliable, even in the video game sphere. There might be onesie twosies, there might be franchises, and you can lock in on certain individuals that you know are going to be consistent, like Christopher Nolan, in my opinion. But there's no place that fans can go to for consistency. And so apathy is what's going to be born out of that, and hate watching dies off eventually because The Witcher season 3, it lost over 60% of its audience from episode 1 to episode 5 before
Yeah.
even volume 2 came out. And that was
Yeah.
before Henry Cavill left. And I just don't see this franchise continuing, just like with a lot of these other ones. Star Trek is a category on a streaming service now, as Gary puts it. It should be one of the largest franchises in the world, like it used to be. None of these franchises carry the weight that they used to. The endless remakes that are all trash devalues everything. Even the new ones that haven't been remade yet or are about to be remade, no one is willing to give them a chance. So they're getting summarily destroyed before they even come out. So Wheel of Time,
Yeah.
I, as someone who's very much on the outside perspective on it, I'm seeing so much less buzz about it from season 1. Like before I met you, before I met a lot of these other people like the White Cloaks who were talking about it, I knew what the Wheel of Time was. I was hearing a lot of news. I was seeing trailers. I was hearing normies like myself in that franchise talk about it. Now, the only reason I know that it's coming out is because I watch you, because I watch the White Cloaks and other people in the sphere. You
Yeah.
guys seem to be the only ones even talking about it. I don't know how many of you guys are actually going to watch it, but I imagine the normie audience is gone because there's not even normie attention on it, let alone
Well,
interest.
You're
Mhm.
right. And you know, I mean, again, because this is kind of my wheelhouse and something, this and Tolkien are what I really, really care about. I walked away from Witcher season 2 and I'm like, I'm not, you know, I need to push that aside, you know. In the MCU, after I watched Doctor Strange and the Vagina of First or whatever the hell it was, I was like, I'm done with the MCU.
Mhm.
Like I'm done. Like you're gonna have to come in and really chase me. Okay, you're gonna have to bring me flowers and chocolate and bring a chauffeur to take my ass to the movie theater and then buy me a lobster dinner for sitting through the dog shit that you've made. Because I'm never giving you another goddamn dollar. There is nothing here that I want, and it doesn't look like Marvel's gonna change, like ever.
Not
You know,
anytime soon.
and DC's like, hold my beer,
Mhm.
hold my beer. You know, they've had to reshoot Aquaman 2. I think we're on number fourth time,
At least, yeah.
and some of those just happened a couple weeks ago, guys.
Mhm. And
You know,
those that money they spent on the research not going to be included on the initial budget. There's no way Aquaman's going to break even.
no, no, I'm sure it'll be just as much of an incredible you must see movie as The Flash was. They can't even give The Flash away. They're bundling it with 2 other movies to try and get people to rent it. That's how
Mhm.
bad it's performing in pay-per-view. Go ahead, Purple.
I was just going to say, and the other thing that people are sick of, even though they're not hyper fans of whatever the franchise is being told that they're terrible people for not liking it.
Mm.
Have you ever known any company to actively turn on people, tell them that you're terrible, and then expect support from said people when whatever it is comes out?
Yeah, there's a particular party, American political party that's really good at that, and, yeah, thank God for mail-in ballots. Anyway, it's not that kind of show. I'm just saying it's a coincidence. Um, yeah, let me do one more thing. Let me do one more share on this, but let me go to Purple on this one real quick. When you think about cheesy, and I want to go to Jen on this, cheesy 70s, 80s, 90s fantasy adaptations. Is there something out there that given the craptastic agenda stuff we've gotten for the last arguably decade, 8, 9 years, that you went back to now, that maybe you thought was just garbage, that you're now like, I love this because it's doesn't have any agenda. You know what I mean? Like, is there a particular movie or show that really stands out or that makes you kind of go, wow, that's a lot better than I thought?
Hmm. Honestly, even though I can't say that I'm a huge fan of the author himself, a lot of Stephen King's early stuff, his adaptations were pretty true to the source material, especially things like The Stand, when they did that short miniseries, I thought was excellent. Obviously, we can keep going back, and now it's 20 years old. We can say Lord of the Rings was set the gold standard, but there is so much stuff. And I know, Jet, did you watch it? Were you the one who watched Willow? Uh, not a great,
a
not a
little bit
great
of it.
film, but
Oh, the
again,
movie.
the movie not great. But
Mhm.
when you put it in context with what came just, I have a soft spot for it.
I love the movie.
Merlin. I remember when that came out and I kind of poo-pooed it, but it's a cool miniseries. It's actually entertaining. What's crazy about these things, and I talk about it with Purple and other people offline, is when you watch some of these older shows and you realize that you have a story which is there to entertain you. It is there to entertain you, and your mind is suddenly reacting to the stimuli on the screen. It's almost, I believe it's at a subconscious level. It's reactivating those parts of you that are a human that are looking for the hero's journey. And you get, for me, I'm starting to get endorphins because I'm being rewarded for knowing what the hero's journey is. I'm being rewarded for understanding the format of a 3-act play or a 4-act play. What is going to be the catalyzing action? What is going to be the climax? What's going to be the denouement? What's that going to be? You know this. And our relatives sitting around the campfire gnawing on brontosaurus burgers told stories the same way because they are human stories. What we're getting now, by their own definition, is transhuman storytelling. There is no humanity in these things. Do you think I'm going too far with that, Jed? Do I need a tinfoil hat? Am I getting a little too Alex Jones on this what's going on?
Not when it comes to the nature of storytelling, because the idea that is at the center of all these writers' perspectives on these adaptations and just movies and just writing in general these days is making it relevant for a modern audience. They're always saying stuff like, we need to bring it into the modern era. It needs to be relevant to right now, instead of like back in the day when we used words like timeless, like for everyone. And we've just lost that perspective. Simplicity is a powerful tool that's made stories last for millennia. There is a pattern. You don't need to reinvent the wheel to make something timeless. They're all trying to reinvent the wheel. They're all trying to be now, 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 now. Well, now only lasts for a moment, and then it's gone. You can't plan a forever franchise off a single moment. And these things, even without the political aspect, that just perspective in and of itself has doomed all these products to fail summarily across the entire entertainment sphere. So I don't think that's tinfoil hat at all. The tinfoil hat stuff would come into perhaps the motivations for why they're in that perspective. But the idea of that perspective existing to begin with is 100% a provable phenomenon that they themselves out about themselves. And it's sad, honestly. It's very Don Quixote. I've come to relate to that story way more in recent years.
100% Cervantes. Purple, I'm going to let you get to that. Let me get the super chat from Psychodwarf Nat. Psychodwarf Nat. I love saying that. $5 super chat says, I feel independent entertainment will move into the void of big money. I believe it will. I believe that it's going to be a lot of brush fire stuff for a while. And then people who do the right thing and then they build their company with whatever initial success they may have and bring in people who challenge them, who bring different voices in, who have different skill sets than them, so they can make another product that maybe it has better quality, that improves upon what was there, that takes the feedback of their customers. And then so the next product that comes out is even better than the first one. Because nobody out there, whether they're making an independent comic book, has 50, 100 years of experience in publishing. Nobody. You can have ideas. You can bring in good people to run your books, which is always good. Have somebody making sure that you're doing the right thing technically and financially. But with everything that you make, if your motivation is to get better at it and to receive honest criticism, you tend to get better. What we're dealing with is an industry that doesn't take criticism anymore. I don't know whether you could call it if it's an ideological, it's almost like it's a theocratic belief. It's a religious belief system where the tenets of that religion must be met regardless of the body count, regardless of the devastation that it does. If you're re-educating people and you're hitting, you could say it could be the DEI corporate objectives. That's all that matters. You know, Amazon said that for forever. They don't care what people think about their shows. They don't care who watches it. They don't care how many people they lose. The reason why they made the Rings of Power, the reason why they made the Peripheral, the reason why they did a League of Their Own is to get people to subscribe to their service to buy shit while this stuff is on the background and they're not paying attention to it. Jennifer Sulky said that in an article, and I'm going to make a video about it tomorrow. There's a couple things I'm going to string together. But that's why these shows are the way they are. And meanwhile, we're here and we're like, we love this damn thing. Will you please not crap all over this thing and then turn this person, this sexuality, or race swap this, or gender swap that, or in the case of the Wheel of Time, would you just pretend that this is actually what the fuck is the name that's actually on the show? Could you do that? Could you give me just 30% of what is in the Eye of the World, or The Great Hunt, or The Dragon Reborn? We got maybe 2% of the Eye of the World in season 1. How much of The Great Hunt in The Dragon Reborn are we going to get in 8 45-minute episodes? Somehow I think it's going to be less. But much like today, you're going to hear lines from the books that are set out of context and put in some scene with special effects that maybe looks nice, but it means nothing. It's like saying I love you to a stranger who doesn't know you and didn't hear you. It doesn't mean anything. And if you don't mean anything, and it's all emotional journeys meant for people who are on their phone ordering whatever is the sale of the day on Amazon, then why don't you just have people shaking their TNA on screen with monkeys shaking maracas and having explosions like it's a TikTok video? You don't need to put $120 million in a season of television to have flashing lights while people buy new shoes. Purple, what do you think about that? I'm off the rails. You and I do a woo-woo show. None of this should surprise you. What do you think, dude?
It is interesting that you bring up those points. It does seem that an entire generation is being kind of engineered to have a minuscule attention span. You're quite correct when you say that the reason that these shows are the way they are is because you can put them on your phone, you can do something else, you can walk around, you can come back to it, and you won't really have missed anything if you're not following the plot. It doesn't matter. It's just noise in the background. There's a reason why TikTok is so popular, because it's that quick fix that people seem to really want. And I think it is a generational thing. But how quickly are they progressing through these books? Because you've talked about it and I've heard Steve talk about it. How can you have these books? And I've got them, I've got them sitting on my shelf. These are thick books. How can you compress them down so much?
You don't. You don't. In the case of Amazon, you don't actually adapt them. It's another show, but it's pretty clear that there was a whole other script that was shot, to me. That's where the $80 million went. That Rafe Judkins said he got 10,000 notes on what he made. 10,000 notes from the Amazon executives. And I believe they quickly reshot season 1 to turn it into what it was, which was pretty banal. It was like baby food. It was like Gerber banana baby food with no sugar, no flavor, no texture. It looked like baby shit in a jar. And that was Wheel of Time season 1, but it wasn't offensive. It wasn't offensive. Now here we are in season 2. Again, did they do any of the book in season 1, The Eye of the World? Chat can probably give their opinion. Again, 2%. In the characters that were present, starting with not Moiraine, Rosamund Pike, that is, first of all, she's not the main character of the series. She's a supporting character. If you go and look at the wiki for the actual Robert Jordan universe and Wheel of Time, Moiraine Damodred is not a main character listed in the glossary. She's a supporting character. Amazon fundamentally screwed the show up because they're trying to use star power in all of these shows. They hired Rosamund Pike and built a show around her. Rafe Judkins has said as much in interviews. I've used those clips in videos. Here we are. In season 2, they're giving things that were done by other characters to Rosamund Pike just to give her something to do and making up a whole other storyline that looks like Kill Bill in a fantasy setting. As far as what they're going to do in season 2, I don't know. They're going to steal a couple lines of dialogue. They're going to maybe hand off a couple things to the wrong characters. They're going to say they're here. They might spend a little time in the White Tower and skip over things. But from what we're seeing, There's absolutely no way that you can take 1,400 pages of high fantasy and pack it into 8 episodes of 45 minutes each with a showrunner like Rafe Judkins and a writer like Amanda Schumann. Do you think, Jed, that was the problem, is they just didn't have enough episodes? Or did Lauren Histrich, I mean, we all know what they, I'm going to be careful not to swear, even though I already said the F word. Derogatory term about a woman involved in Tuesday. Do you remember that? I mean, do you think it was, if they had more episodes, they could have did a better job? Or do you just think they went out of their way to unzip their pants and blow a big diarrhea load over the source material because it's the Witcher's story? And I'm sorry if that's gross. I don't care anymore.
No, I do not think any more episodes would make any sort of impact. If anything, it would just extend the runtime, be more filler, more padding, and there's already a godless amount of that. But at least the early Witcher books, with the notable exception of the final two, they're relatively short, especially the collection of short stories, the first two books. 8 episodes is a fair amount. That's actually a really good
You could
area to
do
be in.
very easily, dude. I agree.
Very, very easily. But that's never what they wanted to do. They never wanted to do The Witcher, so runtime really doesn't make an impact one way or another. They were always going to do what they wanted to do. And Tomek Baginski, the executive producer, he's actually given Lauren a run for her money to be the most idiotic person involved. It's really quite impressive. And he keeps, every week, it feels like he comes up with something dumber. But yeah, runtime isn't always something that is a big player in a lot of these adaptations or the quality of products in general. Because if you can't get a story to work in a certain amount of time, then you can't get it to work at all.
How can lonely people write meaningful relationships if you don't know what love is? And I'm not talking about let's get it on. I'm talking about love, about you like mature love, where after you've let's get it on, you bond, and you're still getting it on. All right. But then it becomes more of like, how do you work together as a team? How do you do something together? And it's like the not pretty things, like who takes out the garbage? Who does this? How do we handle this? How do we deal with life stress? What happens if somebody loses a job? What happens? I mean, like, that's real life. And everybody in chat right now knows exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. It's the part where there's something that bonds you, and it is not all on the other person. It is on you. Okay. You have to be the right kind of person to be with. You also have to pick a partner that's the right person to be with. I don't think what I just said would compute with anybody who's writing these shows. I don't know if it's the attention span. Netflix's model is different than Amazon's, because Amazon's motivation, by Jennifer Sulky's own definition, was to get people to subscribe so that they would put this on in the background to buy shit off Amazon. Netflix doesn't have that. What do you think is the fundamental difference? Why do you think, and I'm going to go with you, Purple, especially with the Sandman, why do you think they burn these things? Is it just for diversity, equity, and inclusion in some weird thing involving BlackRock and whatever the hell is probably really going on? Or is it, what is it? Are these organizations just so infested with people who hate capitalism, yet they make really good livings at a disposable commodity like entertainment, which is completely impossible when you have an affluent society that isn't under communism?
It's kind of a paradox, isn't it? I think it is. I think it is very much they're trying to be on trend, and at the moment, what's on trend is obviously to push certain agendas. We've seen this multiple times with shows, and I think it's going to keep going until people do finally walk away. Now, it's happening. You've talked about the audience and how the audience is dropping off week after week, season after season, but are we there yet? It's hard to say, because I think that there is always curiosity with a show, and especially a show that's based on a book or based on a video game or based on something that people love. They hope for the best, but we found that they're being burned time and time again.
Purple, women, listen to this. This is John B. I think he's mansplaining. And yes, I'm assuming your gender, John, because I'm not an idiot. John B. says, women trying to be male heroes is inherently ridiculous. Purple Valkyrie, are you offended by that? Do you agree with that? Tell me about male heroes versus female heroes, please.
No, I absolutely agree. Women and men are fundamentally different. That I don't think that's a terrible thing to say. the idea of the masculine hero, we've had it since the dawn of time. You talked about the hero's journey, and you can have that with a female character, but it doesn't happen the same way. No, traditionally women were more less easy to anger, I guess. They were more emotional.
Emotional.
Yes.
Wait, women are emotional?
Women
You
are
heard it here
emotional.
first, guys. You can say, especially when your girlfriend is being upset, honey, you're being emotional. You're not being a good male hero. Sorry, go ahead.
Just
Purple.
don't
I had
say
to-
crazy. Just don't.
that was the one time I can say that shit and probably not have my head cut off. All right. Okay.
But the whole idea of trying to force a female character into what was a traditionally male role isn't going to work, because it doesn't balance out. You can have great female characters, and you can think of, we've had them for the last 50 years. You know, you have the strong female character, but not in the way that they've been written now. You think of Ripley, for example, a fantastic female character, but not a masculine archetype.
No. Who are some of your favorite female heroes, Jed? And we're going to wind down because Jed needs to go. And this was just going to be a spontaneous thing. I really didn't have a plan. I'll wrap it up. I'll showing you the last episode 4, which Steve, Prophet of the Dragon, was not kidding. But Jed, when you think about these gender swaps of these characters, is it because you're just part of the patriarchy like I am, and you got your little card that says I'm afraid of strong women? What is it? I mean, what is it? You know, what is the real issue for you, and what is it that's really upsetting, or what is it that destroys the stories?
Well, the reason why I hate these race swaps and these gender swaps, specifically, and these caricatures of female strong protagonists, is because I feel they're used as an excuse to not worry about writing whatsoever. They're there to excuse bad writing. And that bothers me a lot, because just like you were leading up to, there are countless strong female characters from the past that we've all known and loved. Ciri is my favorite Witcher character from both the books and the games.
She's incredible in both of those, in the books, the later books. And dude, we didn't even talk about the unicorn stuff. All right. All I know is I watched your video with Red Nerd, and I'm like, what did you do to that scene? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I'm not sure why I made that video, if I'm going to be completely honest. But this has never been about sexism from our perspective. And I think it's asinine that they're degrading our arguments into that just to villainize us and to discount our opinions altogether. It's never been about that. Characters like Rey, for example, one of the biggest strong female characters out there, we have a problem with her because she's not well written. And because she's female, we're not allowed to criticize it. And so that's what bothers me. If she's not well written, if he's not well written, if a character's not well written, I'm going to call it out, because that's something I care about a lot. Scripts above all else, writing above all else. And I've been demonized for it. So that's why I fight against these so much. That's why I fight against the portrayal of Yennefer and Ciri in the Witcher TV show, because they're caricatures. They're robots. They're not actual human beings. They're not characters. It's just more commonly found among the female characters than the male characters these days, because they have an excuse not to do their jobs. These writers have a built-in excuse, and it bothers me a lot.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it wasn't your video I was making fun of. I was making fun of Netflix and what they did to the unicorn. I'm just going to say that. Your guys' reaction was badass. Yeah, to make Yennefer not be maternal and not care about Ciri, especially on the when they're on the road, and all that happens when they're on the road and the encounters that they, dude, why? Just again, it's the same thing with Wheel of Time, and that's why I wanted to say, like, these things. It's not just Wheel of Time, and it's not just Witcher. The same caliper, and I use that word very loosely, of writer with the same rationale or thinking or lack of creative training or actual creative ability is present across all of these things. Now, that is a broad generalization, but it's also pretty damn accurate. Yeah, John B says, again, we're different, and that's great. Feminists don't want to acknowledge that. Let me get to this super chat for $10. This is from Taker610. Thank you again. I heard the argument that race swapping real historical figures is not the same as race swapping fictional characters. My response to that is every story was written by a real person. And maybe it is that, again, that difference of what it means to be human. It's a difficult conversation to have. Life experience, what you were expected to achieve by the time you were a place in life, even in your 20s, is very different for my generation. I'm Gen X than it is for generations now. I'd been out of the house and put myself through college and was working jobs and never would have expected anybody to do anything for me, because that's what a man did. That's what a woman did. That's where pride comes from. It's where humility is. You understand that you have to hustle and you have to work hard. You don't get things given to you because of any other reason than your ass was moving and you worked hard and you were good and you got lucky, because not everybody got lucky. You just had to keep going. This concept now of participation trophy, like, I need my participation trophy writer's room job. Oh my God, like, I have to have a salary even though the shit that I write sucks and nobody watches it. Like, what am I supposed to do? And it's like, go work at Taco Bell and then go to community college and get a degree in something that matters, something that people want, something you might be good at. I don't know. Go ahead, Purple.
I'd
Thank
also argue that not only can they not identify with these past heroes, that the reason we have so many self-inserts from these writers is because of hubris, that they want to be the hero, but they don't know how to be a hero. So they just write themselves into these characters. And we've seen that multiple times as well recently, with shows and obviously with cartoons.
Yeah. Everybody, you're absolutely amazing. We are going to wind down right now, just because I want to be respectful of Purple Valkyrie's time, as well as my wonderful guest, Jed. I love this man. No gay stuff. Hollywood scholar. Good dude. Where can people find you? What do people got going on, Jed?
Well, you can find me on YouTube at Hollywood Scholar. I'm starting to transition my channel a little bit to include a new type of content. I'm starting to do a lot of lore videos. So I recently put out a lore video about Eowyn from Lord of the Rings with a full voice cast of Geeks and Gamers personnel. We got a Dobby video coming, some more Lord of the Rings, and a lot of Witcher stuff. So if you're interested in lore videos, check my channel out for those. But of course, I'm still going to be doing my news analysis, my reviews, a lot of Witcher stuff, and just general stuff like that. So if you're interested in any of that, check out Hollywood Scholar on YouTube.
Good guy. Jed is a solid dude. I'm glad that we get to trade articles sometimes in the background and I piss you off. And yeah, I know you're all over this stuff. It's just sometimes you have to share it with other people and be like, God, fuck my life. You know what I mean? Mahalainair says, Salty, you should do more woke writer impersonations. Well, maybe we'll make a video about that. Don't worry. Season 2 of The Witcher is coming, and that's how I'm going to end it. Purple Valkyrie, what have you got going on? I'm going to share one more thing and then we're gone.
Of course. First of all, if you're not, please subscribe to these two awesome gentlemen, and obviously to Prophet, who was with us earlier. Fantastic channels, all of them. I have veered away from covering pop culture because my head would have exploded had I continued, but we do talk a lot about the weird, the wonderful, and the paranormal with this gentleman here, Salty Traveling Steve. I'll be doing a lot more videos. Some of them might or may not be including a small plastic werewolf, so keep your eyes open for that. And we do occasionally veer into what used to be considered conspiracy theories, but not anymore.
What's a theory anymore? I got a theory. Somebody actually doing what they're supposed to do in the best interests of our individual countries. That's a conspiracy theory. And on that note, I'm going to share this thing. We're going to look at the final episode I'm going to cover tonight, because we'll probably cover this on Steve's show as well. So this, of course, again, is not made up bullshit. This is actually a synopsis from Australian TV, who put these ratings out. They were up for a while. Now they're pulled down thanks to the White Cloaks, boys and girls. Yes, I use gendered language. This is what's actually in the episodes and the titles of the episodes. This is episode 4, season 2 of The Wheel of Time. Violence. A character is stabbed bloodily through their back and has their throat slashed, resulting in large splashes of blood. Everybody remembers that from The Great Hunt and The Dragon Reborn. There are scenes of fantastical violence involving magical powers as well as sword fighting. A man pins a woman against a wall by her throat. Now, we all saw that. So that would mean by episode 4, guys, Rosamund Pike has already found Rand al'Thor.
They're just burning through these books, aren't they?
Why, God, just My head's gonna explode. All right. Injury detail. A woman is seen covered in blood in a darkly lit cavern while another is seen with blood all over her clothing. I'm guessing that's Lanfear. We see bloody wounds on dead or injured characters. The dead body of a stag is torn apart by wolves who feast on its bloody carcass. That is not Perrin doing not book things, but apparently now it's wolf stuff, even though why would we know that? A woman ties her clothed lover to a bed by the wrists and kisses him. Everybody remembers that scene from Robert Jordan. There are undetailed verbal references to self-deletion. A character keeps a potential attacker at bay by wielding a knife, and by a restrained man is threatened by a supernatural entity. A man uses supernatural powers to pin a woman in a chair and prevent her from moving as he threatens her. Characters grieve for a lost loved one. This is Rafe Judkins' second season of Wheel of Time. We're not even halfway through it. There's nothing of Robert Jordan in this. There's nothing of Wheel of Time in this. Everybody, thanks for being here tonight. You guys are absolutely fantastic. A big thank you to Jed, Hollywood Scholar. A big thank you to Purple Valkyrie. Thank you to the chat. Everybody here, Sensei Matt, Dave Z. Dude, Dr. Rachel Lindberg, John B., Philip Dressel, everybody, Lyle Hammock, who gave super chats, Taper610. If I missed you and I didn't call you out, that's because it's been a long week already, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Taker610, great. Everybody, thanks for being here. I'm not going to do an outro tonight because I wasn't planning to go live, but just want to say thank you. Thanks to everybody who's been here, and a big thank you to Jed and to Purple Valkyrie. You all, please have a great rest of the week. God help us, Wheel of Time Wednesday is 48 hours away. See everybody later. Have a good night.
Bye.